be missed. There is resolutions in the General Assembly about the well-being concept. So embrace the well-being concept, giving priority to human well-being within the constraints of planet well-being. And third, to look at the SDGs as the prioritization of the international community for the next 15, 30 years towards this longer-term goal of sustainable development. So this kind of language is acceptable to all concerned. So looking at the second one, basic agreement amongst member states that when they discuss about energy and forest and water, specific sectoral issues, there is a difference of opinion. Each member state has its own priorities, and that's when we enter into difficulties. So to start with not the details, but a vision, where do we as humanity want to get to for the 21st century? Within that, the next 15, 30 years prioritization, and below that, to look at the principles, the guiding principles, and already stated in the Charter of the United Nations, but also agreed to in many of the declarations and resolutions in the General Assembly. Four that stand out: human rights. In yesterday's discussion, there was mention of security, dignity, happiness under that. Inclusive social development, equitable, inclusive economic growth. Again, to look at the inequities between nations and within nations. And last, to look at the environment sustainability. So four principles, guiding principles. And on the goals, again, there are already priorities, in the Rio +20 document, in the Johannesburg document, and so on, to look at those priorities, separate out the cross-cutting issues, which is easier, and then deal with the remaining priorities with a different basket. And an example of this, what we mean by a global aspirational goal and national targets and needs. For example, meet the basic needs of all people by 2030 could be a global aspirational goal. Then member states translate that into targets. So by basic needs, you define basic needs, and for example, food, water, shelter, energy, education, and specific targets depending on the development stage of the country. So these are a few of the discussions that are going on informally. To leave to answer or to respond to the first question, I think the multilateral system is facing difficulty. I think we have heard it last 2 days from many about the frustration. So if we look back and say what is wrong and what can we do anything about it, and I think the Earth system governance is the right group to answer this. In New York, I think there is a growing realization of a couple of things I wanted to mention. First, I think we live in a hyper-connected, hyper-transparent, globalized world. I think there's recognition of that. Second, there's a growing population, especially the younger generation, that is aspiring to more materialistic lifestyle. This requires infinite or exponential economic growth to continue to provide for this lifestyle. But we're recognizing that there is one planet, there is a finite amount of resources which is fast depleting, and the contradiction with that. So we have one forum, only one forum where all the countries can address this collectively, and that's the General Assembly. We have 193 member states trying very hard to address these challenges. Challenges of today and tomorrow, but the big problem is the rules of engagement, from the Charter to the rules of procedure, were formulated back in the 1940s. So the question to you is, what should be the new rules of engagement? Everybody recognizes that the problem is the intentions of all member states are there, but they are governed and following these rules of engagement and charter of yesterday and trying to address the problems of today and tomorrow. Question to you in answer to the first question that was asked. So in conclusion, let me thank all our panel members for your valuable contribution. Thank IGES under the able and dynamic leadership of President Mori for organizing this. And also thank you for the chair of the conference. And may I invite Professor Daniel to take the floor.
Thank you very much for the interesting question. I think one of the questions raised from the floor about what is the strategic opportunity also overlaps with the final question that is posed by Shrendra. And I think this group is thinking about environment and environmental governance, but the strategic opportunity, which is different from former opportunities regarding this post-MDG debate, is, I think this is about development. So unlike environmental issues, this whole debate started from development communities, and we have to step into development community in order to solve this program sustainable and bringing sustainability idea in. So there are lots of research challenges there, and there are lots of political challenges also there. But I think that's the challenge that we are facing. Thank you very much once again for all the panelists, and also please join me to thank our panelists with a round of applause. Now the session is closed. Please remain seated. So our closing plenary will start from